miss your chance to save a life.
Hey everyone, I'm Jesse Weber, and this is legal news you can use. The internet can be a complicated place for many different reasons, but one of the questions that seems to always confuse people is, can I use a photo or image that I find online? Let's discuss. Okay, so first, copyrights. Copyrights are all the exclusive rights that someone has in an original work that he or she created, including images. How they're distributed, seen, copied, and otherwise used is up to the copyright owner. Generally, if you created the image, you automatically own the copyright in it. Pretty cool, right? What this means is that you usually need the permission of the copyright owner before using the image. However, ask yourself the following. Are you planning to use the image sparingly, or maybe only a portion of it? Are you not going to make money off of it? Are you using it in a news reporting, educational, or scholarly context that benefits the public? Are you completely changing the image so it's unrecognizable? Are you transforming the meaning of the image, like using it in a parody? Is it impossible to get the permission of the copyright owner? Well, if your answer is yes to some or all of these questions, then you may be able to use it without permission, but that's not always guaranteed. Also, sometimes images no longer are copyright protected, meaning they're in the public domain, or the owner grants something called a Creative Commons license, allowing others to freely use the image in specific ways. There are websites that offer royalty-free stock images as well. You should look into all that too. Copyrights aside, if the image features a logo or slogan, or a person, particularly a celebrity, then other issues could come into play as well, including trademark, privacy, and right of publicity laws. I told you, complicated. So best practice is to get permission or give credit whenever you can before using an image, particularly on social media. For more legal news you can use, go to lawandcrime.com.
Can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me something. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Do you know the signs of a brain aneurysm? The worst headache of your life? Pain behind one eye? Dizziness or blurry vision? Don't ignore it. Seek immediate emergency care. The Lisa Calagrassi Foundation. Learn more at lisafoundation.org.
Welcome back. We are going to switch gears to the Harvey Weinstein trial for a few minutes because the Hartung case just took about a 10-minute break. Some developments there. We understand this, according to the New York Times, that Annabelle Shora, the actress we were expecting to hear from today, has in fact taken the stand. I'm just going to recount some details that they share. They say that she fought back tears as she told the courtroom in excruciating detail about the night she was attacked. She says that he raped her, and this happened after he shoved his way into her Gramercy Park apartment, took her to the bedroom, forced her onto a bed, and as she sought to fight him off, sexually assaulted her. She said she was trying to get him off me, was punching him, kicking me, but he got on top of me and raped me. Of course, this is his first accuser to take the stand, one of many we expect to hear from. And again, those details are coming from the New York Times, of course. We have Jesse Weber inside that courtroom. We expect court to go on break soon for lunch. He will come out and give us his firsthand account of what he has heard from the stand. But again, this is big testimony we've been waiting for. The second witness called in this case yesterday, day one. Bold opening statements from both sides. Prosecutors laying out some of these accusations in graphic detail, saying he wasn't just a Hollywood titan, he was a rapist. The defense saying, not so fast. These were consensual encounters. These women were using Harvey too to advance their careers, and also saying, we're going to show you all these emails between some of these alleged victims and Weinstein, where you see they continue to keep in touch with him. One asked asked him to meet her mother. One asked for premiere tickets. So what kind of victims were these? This here is video from this morning of Harvey Weinstein exiting his SUV on his way into court. It's the second day we saw him go in without a walker, actually just with the help of his two aides going up the stairs. Before we get to some of the before we get to some of what we heard from Gloria Allred yesterday, who represents actually Annabelle Shora and some of the other victims testifying, just quickly, I want to ask my guests, we expected this testimony to come today. It is as sort of emotional and graphic as we expected. Marie, let me start with you. This is the first witness the jury's hearing from who actually alleges she was a victim. How powerful do you think it was in there?
Generally, when you hear from the victims, it's the most powerful testimony you can have. And if the jury believes her that it was rape and not consensual, he's done. He does have a good defense that it's he said, she said, but when you start piling one on top of the other, that excuse kind of fades away. And just because they kept in touch with him, he was a powerful mogul. He could help their careers. It doesn't mean that the sex was consensual. And I believe they're going to have an expert come in, a forensic psychologist, that's going to testify that this is not abnormal for victims to keep in touch with their assailants.
Now, we know, as we've talked about, Terry, the defense is going to go after her hard in cross-examination. One of the issues here is this is an old attack, and she herself says this was in either late 1993 or early 1994. I mean, can you blame someone? I can hardly remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, let alone 25 years ago. But is that going to hurt her case, the fact that she doesn't even have the details that clearly of the exact date?
I think you're exactly right. They will go after her. They will push her for details. It will be difficult because it's so long ago. But what she has working on her side is the fact that she is emotional, and there are certain things that she does remember. So even if she doesn't remember small details like, exactly what time it was, she will remember how he made her feel. And I think that will come across to the jury.
Yeah, apparently, she, under questioning, she said that she didn't call the police because she was confused. He was someone that she knew. She felt at the time rape was something that happened in a back alleyway, which is something the prosecution talked about in their opening. Look, these are not random rapes. You think rape, you hear someone trapped in an alley or pushed up in a hallway somewhere, right? These are not stranger rapes, so to speak. Apparently, the prosecution's questioning is still going on. We expect, again, the cross-examination to be perhaps just as long, if not as long, as the direct. Again, as I said, we know one person who's been very vocal during all of this is Gloria Allred, who represents Annabella Shora as well as some of the other victims. Remember, these are not women who are named in this criminal complaint. They are not actually part of the case, but prosecutors are bringing them on to show a pattern of behavior from Harvey Weinstein. Let's listen a little bit to what Gloria had to say yesterday after the opening arguments about her expectations for how this testimony would be going.
I am very much looking forward to the expert testimony of Dr. Barbara Ziff, who also testified in the Bill Cosby criminal case, where she will, as an expert, explain why the myth that women who were assaulted or raped or sexually abused and still have contact with the predator after their assault is just that. It's just a myth, and that continued communication doesn't mean that retroactively that sexual assault or rape or forced oral copulation did not happen. But in addition to what the expert I expect will testify to, I don't know, it's my educated guess, based on what she testified to in the Bill Cosby criminal case, in which he was convicted and is now in prison as classified as a sexually violent predator, which was now affirmed by the appellate court in Pennsylvania. She will explain, she will help to educate the jury about what she has found as a result of her research. But even more than that, I expect a number of the witnesses to be able to put their emails in context to explain why they continued communication, what HW, meaning Harvey Weinstein, was doing for them, communicating to them, perhaps promising to them. It's a complicated situation. It isn't simple. It needs to be explained through the testimony of witnesses. Let me just say in general, because I've represented rape victims for 44 years, that often victims of rape do not report to the police, do not go to the hospital. The failure to file a police report or go to the hospital does not mean that a rape did not occur. So that would be another myth. And that's a subject for another time about why many do not go to the police, including often they feel they will not be believed or the case will not be prosecuted, which in fact is what happens in many cases. But I'm not going to comment on who did or failed to do anything in that regard here.
So I've just received more details from what is going on in the courtroom from Jesse himself. Some very copious notes here about Shora's testimony. We heard Gloria talking about why people don't go to the police. She was, of course, asked about this. The prosecutor said, "Did you call police?" "I did not." "What did you think happened to you? Did you think it was a crime?" She said, "I didn't really know. Thought he was a nice person, an okay guy. I felt confused. I felt like I wish I'd never opened the door." They said, "Did you invite him?" "No." "Did you give him any indication you were romantically interested?" "No." "Did you know what constituted the crime of rape?" She said, "I'm not sure. This was someone I knew. I felt at the time the rape was something that happened in a back alleyway." This is what we had reported from the Times before, by someone you didn't know. But then she was asked, "Did he physically force you when having sex with you?" She said, "Yes." "Did he physically force you with oral copulation?" She said, "Yes." And then she goes on to say it was very difficult for her to resume her normal life. So, you know, Marie, to your point, this is quite common, of course, and she was confused. It's not like a stranger forced his way in. This is someone she had met months before. She'd been communicating about various parts and so forth.
This is the common reaction to a rape, and most rapes are with someone you know. Common in date rape, and you're silent about it, one, because you're confused at the time. This is someone you knew, someone you, in this case, someone you looked up to, someone you thought was going to mentor you and help you, and then they do this to you, and they're confused, and they internalize, and they start examining what they did. Well, going to the room, was I sending the wrong message? And they start blaming themselves. And then for them to report it, they're going to be re-victimized all over again. And that's why a lot of women don't report it. And they don't start reporting it until other women report it, where they feel that they have some safety in numbers, that they're going to be given some more credibility. Because if one woman came out against Harvey Weinstein and said, "This happened to me," no one would believe her. And that's the fear, and one of the reasons that there's so much silence about it. But I just want to say the states are starting to recognize this problem, that women don't come forward, are starting to change the civil laws so people can sue well into their
which we've seen here happen in New York with the statute of limitations in certain cases for sexual assault. But let me give you some more details. This is the prosecutors are also using their handy-dandy projection. We understand a lot of photos were shown yesterday. There was some controversy over one with Harvey and Bill Clinton, but they're showing photos of Annabella Shora back in the time of the 90s when this allegedly happened, as well as photographs of the building where she says it happened, the building where she lived, the facade, the elevator, the hallway. She goes over them. One question the prosecutor asked, would the doorman be there? And she said yes. Sometimes they weren't there, though. This was a question that defense brought up in their opening, saying Harvey couldn't have just gone up to her apartment. They would have had to call up. Terry, you know, do these photos really make a difference? I mean, the woman hasn't lived there in 25 years. Who knows if the building even looks the same? Why even bring these out?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think that these photos are going to make a big impact on the jury. I mean, what difference does it make if there's a doorman there or there wasn't a doorman there? The important point here is this is a date rape. This is not the rape of someone, you know, that you don't know, where you're in a back alley, as we mentioned. This is someone you do know. This is someone that you haven't given consent to, and it is still rape. And I can't agree more with you, Marie. You are absolutely 100% correct. Most women did not say anything about these kinds of rapes because they were either ashamed or thought they would be blamed. They thought no one would believe them. And there is some security in the numbers now that we see all of these women coming out and saying, this is the pattern, this is what happened, this is what he did.
Certainly after this case and all of these allegations against Weinstein have come out. We're going to take a quick break. There are a lot more details to comb through on what's been going on this morning in court. Annabelle Shura took the stand almost an hour and 45 minutes ago, and I understand her testimony still continues. Stick around, we'll be right back with much more on the Harvey Weinstein trial.
People were ready to convict. There was false information everywhere. It was ugly.
They put a price tag out there for our heads.
It's a lot of pressure for the defense. Skylar's life's in their hands.
6 years of a serious eating disorder.
She did change her story.
It changes everything about the case.